Every morning, the same routine. Kids boarding the bus, ignoring the elderly driver, making noise in the back. But that day, when the certificate fell to the floor, even the most mischievous child went silent, because that ordinary driver had the Medal of Honor. Welcome to Daily Soldier Stories. Before we begin this powerful story, tell us in the comments which city you're watching from today. And if you believe military stories like this need to be heard, hit that subscribe button and help us keep these stories alive. It was Tuesday morning, 7:15 a.m. in Richmond, Virginia. The Jefferson Elementary School bus was slowly moving through the suburban neighborhoods, following its familiar route. Behind the wheel sat Robert Bob Thompson, quietly 74 years old, a substitute bus driver. The regular driver was out sick with the flu, and Bob was filling in. Children were boarding at each stop, backpacks dragging, voices chattering, completely ignoring the elderly man driving. To them, Bob was just another adult, an insignificant part of their morning routine. "Good morning, children," Bob would say gently at each stop. Most ignored him completely. A few mumbled, "Morning back," normal interaction for a substitute driver. Bob preferred the quiet anyway. Less attention meant fewer questions about his past. At 74, he had learned that being invisible was safe, being unnoticed was peaceful. This particular route carried 28 students, ages 5 to 11. Lily Parker, 8 years old, always sat in the second row on the right side, reading her coloring books. Jackson Williams, 10, was the back row troublemaker, constantly making noise. Sophia Martinez, 9, sat in the middle seats, shy but very observant. Bob knew each child's stop, personality, and little habits. He'd been substituting for Jefferson Elementary for 4 months now. Never missed a day, never late, never caused problems. Richmond City schools loved dependable substitutes. Bob was punctual, a safe driver with a spotless background check, perfect for covering when regular drivers were unavailable. What they didn't know was Bob's complete background. His application simply listed Robert E. Thompson, retired, Virginia CDL, clean driving record. Basic, unremarkable, quiet. Bob never mentioned his military service during the application process, never discussed Vietnam, deployments, medals, anything related to his Army years. Just a quiet old man wanting to stay busy, earn a modest income, and remain invisible. That morning began like dozens before. Bob arrived at the school bus depot at 6:20 a.m., conducted his pre-trip inspection, reviewed the route sheet, and prepared for the day. Same routine, same methodical approach. But sometimes the past refuses to stay buried in manila folders. As the bus was approaching the final stop at Jefferson Elementary, Bob reached for his attendance clipboard to verify the student count. His personal folder next to the driver's seat was slightly open, with the corner of an official document visible. Lily Parker, a naturally curious 8-year-old, noticed something unusual. A government seal was peeking from Bob's folder, a formal-looking paper with official letterhead. "Mr. Bob," Lily called out politely. "I think you dropped something." Bob glanced back and saw nothing on the bus floor. "What's that, sweetie?" "A paper from your folder. It slipped out." Bob safely pulled into the school parking zone, engaged the parking brake, and looked where Lily was pointing. Indeed, a document had fallen, sliding under a nearby seat. Jackson Williams, always eager for action, immediately jumped up. "I got it, Mr. Bob." "No, Jackson, please stay seated," Bob said firmly. "I'll retrieve it." But Jackson was already reaching for the paper, his boyish curiosity overriding the rules. He grabbed the document, glanced at it, and his eyes widened dramatically. "Whoa," Jackson whispered loudly. "Mr. Bob, what is this thing?" Bob's heart instantly sank. The document was his Medal of Honor certificate, an official copy he kept for VA medical appointments. It must have slipped out when he grabbed his clipboard. "Please return that, son," Bob said calmly, extending his hand. But Jackson was reading aloud, his voice growing excited. "The President of the United States of America, Medal of Honor, Robert Eugene Thompson, conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity." The entire bus immediately fell silent. Children were turning in their seats, listening intently. Even Lily put down her coloring book, giving her full attention. Bob felt a familiar knot in his stomach. This was exactly what he'd worked to avoid. "Jackson, please give that back," Bob said more firmly. "But Mr. Bob, this says you're a war hero. You got the Medal of Honor." Sofia Martinez spoke up softly. "What's the Medal of Honor?" "It's like the most important military medal ever," Jackson explained excitedly. "My grandfather told me about it. Only the bravest soldiers get it." Bob carefully walked back to Jackson's seat. "Son, I need that document back now." Jackson handed it over respectfully, but the damage was done. Every child was staring at Bob with completely new eyes, no longer just a substitute driver, now someone mysterious, someone significant. "Mr. Bob, are you really a war hero?" Lily asked quietly. Bob looked at the curious young faces surrounding him, innocent expressions, genuine interest. No mockery, no judgment, just children trying to understand. "I served in the Army," Bob said simply. "A long time ago." "When?" asked Sofia. "Vietnam, 1968 to 1970. Jackson bounced in his seat excitedly. "What did you do to earn that medal?" Bob hesitated. He never discussed this with anyone, especially not children, but their faces showed such honest curiosity, such pure interest. "I helped some fellow soldiers," Bob said carefully, "when they were in danger." "Like a rescue mission?" Lily asked. "Something like that." The bus radio suddenly crackled. "Unit 12, status report requested." Bob realized they were running late. "We need to get inside school, children. Please take your seats." The children reluctantly settled down, but the atmosphere was completely transformed. No more chattering, no more ignoring the driver. Everyone was quietly studying Bob with newfound respect and wonder. Bob drove the final distance to the school in unusual silence, his mind racing. The secret was out. Everything would change now. The school arrival appeared normal on the surface. Children exited the bus, said goodbye to Bob, and walked toward the building entrance. But Bob noticed a subtle difference. Instead of rushing past, several children turned back and waved properly. "Goodbye, Mr. Bob," Lily called out cheerfully. "See you this afternoon," Jackson added enthusiastically. Bob waved back, uncertain how to process his emotions. Part of him worried about unwanted exposure. Part of him felt warmth from the children's changed behavior. During school hours, the news spread like wildfire. Children couldn't contain their excitement about their bus driver being a genuine war hero. Teachers overheard playground conversations and became curious themselves. Ms. Johnson, Lily's teacher, approached the principal during lunch break. "Students are talking about the substitute bus driver having the Medal of Honor. Should we look into this?" Principal Dr. Amanda Foster knew Bob as an exceptionally reliable substitute. "I'll investigate this afternoon." Meanwhile, Bob spent the day driving other routes, his mind preoccupied with the morning's events. He wondered if he should quit his position, find different work, and avoid the inevitable complications. But afternoon arrived, time for the return trip. Bob parked at the school pickup area and waited for the students to board. The children approached the bus completely differently than in the morning. Instead of pushing, shoving, and being loud, they walked quietly and respectfully. Many made direct eye contact and offered genuine greetings. Lily approached the driver's seat hesitantly. "Mr. Bob, my teacher asked about your medal." Bob's stomach tightened noticeably. "What did you tell her?" "That you're a hero, that you saved soldiers' lives." "Lily, I'm just a bus driver. The medal doesn't change that." "But it does," she insisted earnestly. "Heroes are special people." Jackson climbed aboard, followed by Sofia and the others. All sat quietly, observing Bob with a completely new perspective. "Mr. Bob," Jackson said respectfully, "my mom wants to know if you'd come to dinner. She wants to thank you personally." Bob felt genuinely overwhelmed. "That's very thoughtful, but unnecessary." "Could you tell us what really happened?" Sofia asked softly. "During the war." Bob looked at the expectant young faces. These children saw him differently now, but they were still just kids, still his responsibility to transport safely. "Perhaps another time," Bob said gently. "Let's focus on getting everyone home safely." The drive was quieter than any previous trip. The children behaved perfectly, spoke respectfully, and treated Bob with newfound reverence and admiration. At Lily's stop, she paused before exiting. "Mr. Bob, thank you for being so brave." Bob felt tears forming unexpectedly. "Thank you for being such wonderful children." That evening, Lily excitedly told her parents about the discovery. Patricia Parker, Lily's mother, immediately called the school administration. "Is this true? Our bus driver has the Medal of Honor?" Principal Dr. Foster confirmed she was researching the situation. "If it's accurate, we want to honor him appropriately." Patricia shared the story with her neighborhood friends. Word spread rapidly through the community. By Wednesday morning, Bob's home phone was ringing constantly. "Mr. Thompson, this is News Channel 8. We'd like to interview you about your Medal of Honor service." Bob hung up immediately. The phone rang again. "Sir, this is the Richmond Times-Dispatch. We understand you're a war hero driving a school bus." Bob unplugged the phone entirely. Thursday morning, Bob arrived at the bus depot expecting a routine day. Instead, he found Principal Dr. Foster waiting patiently. "Mr. Thompson, we need to discuss something important." Bob's heart sank. "Am I in trouble?" "Quite the opposite. We've verified your Medal of Honor. We want to honor you properly." "That's completely unnecessary. I just want to drive the bus." "The children have been talking about you all week. They're fascinated, genuinely inspired. Would you consider speaking to them, sharing your story?" Bob shook his head firmly. "I don't discuss the war. Not about combat, about service, about courage, about how ordinary people can do extraordinary things." Bob considered carefully. "These children see me differently now. I'm not sure I'm comfortable with that." "They see you clearly now. There's an important difference." Dr. Foster explained her idea. "A simple school assembly. You don't have to discuss combat details. Just talk about serving your country, helping others." Bob reluctantly agreed, with strict conditions. "No media coverage, no cameras, just the children." Agreed completely. Friday morning, Jefferson Elementary Assembly. All 350 students were gathered in the gymnasium. Bob stood backstage, nervous, wearing the same casual clothes he wore while driving the bus. Principal Dr. Foster introduced him simply. "Our substitute bus driver, Mr. Bob Thompson, has something special to share." Bob walked to the microphone and looked at the sea of young faces. Many he recognized from various bus routes. All were watching with intense attention. "Hello, children," Bob began. "I'm not very good at speaking to large groups." Gentle laughter rippled through the audience. "You all know me as your bus driver. That's exactly what I am. But some of you discovered I was once a soldier, too." Lily's hand shot up immediately. "Mr. Bob, why didn't you tell us?" "Because being a soldier was long ago. Being your bus driver is right now." Jackson raised his hand. "But you're a hero." Bob paused thoughtfully. "I'm going to tell you what heroism really means." He stepped away from the microphone and walked closer to the seated students. 1969 Vietnam. I was 20 years old, not much older than your teenage siblings. I was frightened, far from home, missing my family terribly. The students listened with complete attention. "We were on a patrol mission. My unit got ambushed by enemy forces. Several soldiers were wounded and couldn't move to safety. Enemy fire was coming from all directions." Bob's voice remained steady, but was clearly emotional. "I went back for them. 4 separate times. I carried wounded soldiers to safety. I got shot twice, but I kept going. I couldn't abandon my friends." Complete silence throughout the gymnasium. "The Medal of Honor didn't make me a hero. Loving my fellow soldiers made me a hero. The same way you become heroes, by caring for each other." A young girl raised her hand. "Were you scared?" "Absolutely terrified. Heroes aren't people without fear. Heroes are people who do the right thing despite being afraid." "What should we do to be heroes?" a boy asked. Bob smiled warmly. "Help classmates who are struggling. Stand up for children being bullied. Be kind to people who seem different. Heroes exist everywhere, every single day." Sophia Martinez stood up. "Mr. Bob, will you keep driving our bus? As long as the school needs me, I'll be here." The assembly concluded with a standing ovation, not for the Medal of Honor, but for Bob's message about everyday heroism. In the following weeks, Bob continued driving his bus routes, but his relationship with the students was completely transformed. The children treated him with respect, but not fear. Admiration, but not distance. Lily started checking out military history books from the library and sharing interesting facts with Bob. Jackson stopped being disruptive and began helping younger children on the bus. Sophia overcame her shyness and started having regular conversations with Bob about courage. The community response was overwhelming. Local veterans organizations invited Bob to speak at events. He declined most invitations, but accepted one at a nearby VFW post. "Why do you still drive a school bus?" a fellow veteran asked. "You could do anything now." Bob considered the question carefully. "Because those children need to see that service doesn't end with discharge, that heroes are normal people doing their everyday jobs." The local newspaper ran a respectful article, despite Bob's initial reluctance. Medal of Honor recipient serves community as school bus driver. No sensationalism, just deep respect for continued service. Bob received letters from across the United States. Veterans thanking him for representing them with dignity. Parents expressing gratitude for his positive influence on their children. One letter was particularly meaningful. "Mr. Thompson, my son Jackson rides your bus daily. He's been completely different since learning about your service. More respectful, more helpful to others. Thank you for showing him what real strength looks like." Michelle Williams. Bob kept the letter in his bus folder, right next to his Medal of Honor certificate, a reminder that influence extends far beyond the battlefield. Months later, Bob noticed significant changes throughout the entire school. Children were more respectful to all adults, not just him. Bullying incidents decreased noticeably. Academic performance improved slightly district-wide. Ms. Johnson approached Bob after school dismissal. "Whatever you said to these children, it worked. They're genuinely different people." "I simply told them the truth. Heroes are ordinary people doing extraordinary things." "Several are writing essays about you for their assignments," Bob smiled. "I hope they're writing about helping others, not about me specifically." Lily's essay titled "My Hero Drives Bus Number 12" won the district-wide competition. She read it at the award ceremony, with Bob proudly watching from the audience. "Heroes aren't in movies or comic books," Lily read confidently. "They're driving our buses, teaching our classes, helping our communities every day. Mr. Bob taught me that courage isn't about not being afraid. It's about doing what's right even when you are afraid." Bob wiped away tears. Mission accomplished perfectly. When the school year ended, Bob planned to return to his regular substitute schedule. But Principal Dr. Foster made a special offer. "We want you in a full-time permanent position, your own bus route, your own schedule, your terms entirely." Bob accepted, understanding that his role had evolved beyond simple transportation. He was now an educator, mentor, and living example of continuous service. The next fall, new students boarded Bob's bus. Word had spread throughout the Richmond community. Parents specifically requested that their children ride with Mr. Bob. "Good morning, children," Bob greeted the fresh group. "I'm your bus driver." A 5-year-old kindergartner raised her tiny hand. "Are you the hero driver?" Bob smiled warmly. "I'm the driver who believes every one of you can be heroes." And the educational cycle continued. 2 years later, Bob received a completely unexpected visitor. A young man in Army dress uniform knocked on his front door. "Mr. Thompson, I'm 2nd Lieutenant Jackson Williams. I used to ride your bus at Jefferson Elementary." Bob's face lit up with joy. "Jackson, look at you." "I wanted to thank you personally. Your assembly talk in 3rd grade changed my entire life. It made me want to serve my country, to help others." Bob felt profound satisfaction. "I'm incredibly proud of you, son. I deploy to Afghanistan next month. I thought you should know that a Medal of Honor recipient inspired the next generation of soldiers." Bob hugged Jackson tightly. "Stay safe over there. Remember what I taught you about courage. Do the right thing despite fear. I remember every word." After Jackson left, Bob sat in his favorite chair, reflecting deeply. That Medal of Honor certificate accidentally falling from his folder had seemed like an embarrassing mishap. Now he understood it was destiny. Sometimes heroes are discovered in the most unexpected places. Sometimes wisdom comes from the mouths of children. Sometimes service continues long after military uniforms are stored away. Bob Thompson never sought public recognition. But when recognition found him, he used it wisely to teach a new generation about courage, service, and everyday heroism. Today, Bob still drives the bus for Jefferson Elementary. Now, 77, still punctual, still caring, still teaching through personal example. His route is known throughout Richmond as the hero route. Parents request specific placement for their children, not for the celebrity factor, but for the values Bob consistently represents. Each morning, Bob greets students with the same quiet dignity. Each afternoon, he delivers them safely home. In between, he demonstrates that heroes drive buses, teach classes, stock shelves, and serve communities. The Medal of Honor certificate remains in his folder, a visible reminder of his past military service. But Bob's true legacy isn't that medal. It's the hundreds of children who learned that courage comes in many forms, that service never truly ends, and that heroes are ordinary people doing extraordinary things. On quiet Sunday mornings, Bob reflects on his journey from the Vietnam battlefield to the school bus route. Both required courage. Both involved protecting others. Both demanded personal sacrifice. But driving the school bus might be the more important mission. Because every child who learns about service, every student who chooses kindness over cruelty, every young person inspired to help others represents a victory more lasting than any military campaign. Bob Thompson continues serving, one child at a time, 1 mile at a time, 1 day at a time, because real heroes don't retire. They just find new ways to serve their communities. Bob Thompson's story isn't a recognition story. It's a continuation story. How military service doesn't end with discharge. How heroism adapts to new circumstances. How influence extends beyond the battlefield to the classroom, community, and daily life. That Medal of Honor certificate accidentally dropping from his folder changed everything. But Bob's response to the discovery revealed his true character. He used the unexpected attention to teach, inspire, and guide the next generation. Because authentic heroes don't seek the spotlight. When the spotlight finds them, they use it to illuminate the path for others. Bob could have hidden his medal, avoided questions, and remained invisible. Instead, he chose to be vulnerable, to share his story, and to trust children with the truth about courage. The result? An entire school community was transformed. Children learned about service. The community gained a role model. The next generation of soldiers was inspired. Sometimes the most important battles aren't fought with weapons. They're fought with words, examples, and daily choices to do the right thing consistently. Bob Thompson demonstrates that heroes come in many forms. Some wear military uniforms. Some drive school buses. Some teach by living well, serving quietly, and inspiring others through simple dignity. Have you ever encountered someone like Bob? Someone whose true story emerged unexpectedly? Someone who used their recognition to help others grow? As daily soldier stories, we'll continue sharing these military narratives. Because every veteran has a story worth telling. Every service member has wisdom worth sharing. Every hero has a lesson worth learning. If this story touched you, subscribe and share. And remember, heroes might be driving your bus, teaching your children, and serving your community. Look closer. Listen better. Appreciate more. Because sometimes the most important discovery isn't what someone did decades ago. It's what they continue to do today.